Hi guys, Sandra here from Create in Spain, and today is a bit of an experimental day. Now I've got a couple of items here which you may have seen me use before, maybe not, and it's texture paste in silver and gold from Lidl or Aldi. They both sell the same brands. Now, interestingly enough, although you can quite happily use these for stenciling, they're not very good for stamping. But they do have a really nice strong pigment to them. So how can we actually use them for stamping? I did some experimentation recently on hot foiling and I discovered something interesting. This particular glue, which happens to be very sticky, although it's not sticky when it's dried, it doesn't dry tacky, is useful for hot foiling. You apply it in the usual way, stamp your image with it, let it dry, and then you can hot foil it in a laminator. And I thought, well, okay, it's obviously got certain properties that enable it to stamp, because you can stamp with this really, really well. This is not easy to stamp with because it's a little too slick. So what I decided to try was to put down a little bit of this paint and add just the tiniest amount of this glue and see if it would make the property of the texture paste change enough to stamp with it properly. And I tried it out and it worked. So I have a stamp here and I'm just going to use this as I would a stamp pad basically, and stamp it on black so you can see it easily, and pull off, and a perfect stamped image. And it is actually quite nice and metallic, so it works very nicely on that. And that's just a normal card, it's not coated or anything. I'll show you what it looks like on white. There we go. That's pretty good. I mean, I have tried metallic stamping pads before now, and they've never been overly brilliant. So I'm going to put this now on some green vellum. I think this is going to look really nice. So let's see. Gave that a bit of a wiggle, so I might not have a clean image here. That's pretty impressive. I've got another piece of card here. I'm running out of the paint. That's more likely to be a cause of a bad stamp than anything else. Just make sure I smoosh up the rest of it. And there we go. Yeah, it's given a pretty good image and it's stamping nicely. Now I just want to put a little more of this down, and I want to try it on acetate, because acetate, being very slippery, can be quite difficult to stamp onto if you're not using the right thing. One drop of this stuff, a bit like I do if I use the glycerin, just one drop. Okay, and let me get some acetate. And I've got a lovely image on the acetate too, because normally if you try and stamp with this sort of stuff, it just sort of splodges to the edges and you don't get a good stamp. So that's the silver one done. I'm just going to put that into a bowl of water to make sure I don't ruin my stamp and my block. That can go in the water as well. So this one is an image which just has lines, it's not a solid image. And so I'm going to use the gold on this one. And it's a lovely looking gold. Look at that, isn't that nice? And tiny amount of glue. There we are. And a fresh blending tool. Smush it all up. Perfectly stamped to the edge. That's pretty good. So do one on the acetate. There we are. Do one here. I'm just about running out of paint, I think. It's come out really, really well. Still got a nice shine to it. I'll do the last one on the green here. There we go. So that appears to be the way to be able to stamp with your texture pastes if you have the metallic texture paste, or indeed if you have a paint, an acrylic paint that you cannot stamp with at the moment. You may find that by adding a tiny amount of glue to it that you can. Now, in my experimentation regarding the foiling, I also found that a good quality, and I mean a good quality, PVA glue will also be able to be used for doing stencils and foiling. So there is also a chance that if you did the same thing with the PVA glue, you would get the same effect. So I have in my stash somewhere, yeah, this is my decent PVA glue. So I'm going to try the same thing with that. It may just make it tacky enough to work. There we are. And clean thingy. I'm just going to mix that up a little bit. I did put more paint out on this one, so I did put a larger splodge of the glue as well. But I think it should be pretty similar in its consistency. And try a different stamp, just because my other ones are in the wash at the moment. Now, it has to be said that the tools do actually soak up quite a lot of paint, as you can see, but that should mean that you get a nice even coverage. Oh, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. And that you don't get too much paint on your stamp, because too much paint is as bad as not enough. Yep, that's coming out just fine. And I will test these later on to make sure that they dry properly. There's no reason why they shouldn't. There we go, you can see that one. Perfectly stamped images, which I know that I don't get if I use the texture paste straight from the actual container normally. So that is a brilliant way of getting your stamped images in gold and silver, perfectly nice, clean, crisp, metallic images, including, I'm thinking, text, which would be really, really handy. Thanks for watching. Take care now. Bye bye.